You can pass the PMP in less than a month. It is possible. It's going to take some hard work. What's going on YouTube? Ryan here. Haven't been on YouTube in a long time, but I figure I'd touch base on a particular topic that I like to discuss that can help motivate a vast majority of people who are currently maybe in the application phase of doing their PMP or currently studying to take their exam. And I hope this helps for those that are taking the PMP exam. So for the past 6 weeks, I had been studying for the Project Management Professionals certification. I'm going to be breaking down this video step by step in terms of my story, first of all, on why I decided to do the PMP and the certain steps I took to prepare for it, and as well as two other things I'd like to mention. So the first thing is, if you haven't applied for a PMP, the first part is the application phase for those that haven't applied for the PMP yet, and as well as the study phase, which I'll talk about in terms of what are the critical things that you should be looking at in terms of studying for the PMP, whether it be books or online resources and things like that. And the last point I'd like to touch on is motivation, because a lot of people find this exam very difficult, and I'll tell you, out of all the exams I've ever done in my life, particularly being from a chemical engineering background, this is by far probably one of the hardest exams I've ever written, bar none. It really tests your ability to think on the spot and think critically. Me being very used to using formulas in certain scenarios, this was all based on, taking the information from what's on the PMBOK guide, and as well as using your own professional judgment to make the right answers on the test. And I'm not gonna lie, it is a doozy of an exam. As I just mentioned, it's 200 questions and you're expected to answer them in a span of 4 hours. I ended up doing mine at home through Pearson VUE, and it ended up going well. Everything went well through the way I did it. But again, can you pass the PMP in less than a month? 23 days, 30 days, 45? Absolutely. All right, so let's kick this off. So my background. So currently I'm working in the Canadian Armed Forces as a military officer, and a lot of the times as officers are expected to take on certain projects and certain tasks that are sporadicated throughout the entire organization, depending on where you might be working. And this can be multiple projects, depending on where you're working. And it's very expected of us to be able to use the leadership and management qualities to be able to execute those tasks. So having a bit of that background, I compiled all of my information in terms of the hours I did, as well as I went through a Udemy course, which was the PMBOK guide exam prep seminar. I'll put the link in the description if you guys are interested. $20, excellent course. Quite long, a lot of assignments and quizzes, but it gives you a very good baseline in terms of what is expected on the exam and what you need to know. So I went through that. I went through the entire application phase. I wasn't audited, so that was great. And I ended up getting scheduling my exam for about 3 weeks out from the date on that I was accepted to do my PMP, and that was it. That's when the study phase started. All right, so as I mentioned, so I'll move on to the application phase. So what's critical in this? Depending on where you've worked and certain project management domains, depending on what you've done, what is critically required is 36 months worth of project management experience. So ensure you have that. So ensure to talk to your supervisors or colleagues and whoever you have with you back in those times to ensure that if you are audited, they can sign off on that. The other piece, of course, is getting your 35 contact hours. So those contact hours can be through any sort of boot camp course that's available online. In my opinion, if you do want to save a bit of money, you can go through Udemy on the, just checking the link in the description for the course that's there. It'll give you 35 contact hours, but I will critically emphasize to do the assignments and the quizzes and complete the course proper. And I'm not saying this might happen to other students, but there may be the tendency to maybe not do the assignments and just go to the last module and get the certificate. That's bogus. You're not putting in the work. So ensure you do the course, do it properly, and get it done. So the other thing I'll touch point in the application phase is that if you do have the degree, That'll decrease your required amount of project management experience to 36 months. If you don't have a degree, I believe it's 48, 60 months, I can't remember. But in my case, since I already had a degree in chemical engineering, only 36 months was required. So you've been accepted to do the PMP exam, so what's your next step? What do I do? What do I study? What was critical to my success was understanding that I needed to get this done, first of all. And the longer it took and the longer I spent it out, maybe throughout 3 months or 6 months, I knew that wasn't going to be worth it. So I decided to, go for broke. I'm going to do this in 23 days. And I actually ended up doing this exam at home when I was on vacation leave. So, a lot of people thought I was crazy for doing this, taking my own vacation leave to do it. But it's something I wanted to do. And it's a vision I had for myself. So the first thing, so you end up scheduling the exam. What are the study materials? The first one I would recommend is Pass Your PMP on Your First Try by Andy Crow. I might have messed up the actual name of the book here, but it's a book that looks just like this. Highly, 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 highly recommend. If you already completed the Udemy course, this is your next step. I'll keep an Amazon link in the description below. The book is about $80 depending if you get it used or new, but critical to my exam success. It really breaks down the PMBOK guide step by step and what are the key critical factors within the book for you to understand things properly. The other thing I'll touch point on that is ensure to do the quizzes. Don't skip the quizzes. The quizzes are pretty hard and they will test your knowledge to the fullest. Now, the other thing I'll mention about the book is that it is a long book. Like this book, I've gone through it multiple times throughout my study period. And before the actual mock practice exam, I'm just going to look here, it's about 500 pages. So do go through the book. It is possible to get it done within 1 week. So I would recommend that within for example, you have three weeks of study, do that maybe on week 1 or week 2, or spread it out. The second thing I would recommend is the PMP exam simulator by Prepcast. I'll put a link in the description on that one as well. This was literally the gold mine of my study strategy. In terms of questions that you're expected to be tested on and the similarities, this was the gold mine, absolutely similar. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to actual PMP exam questions, you'll have questions that ask you, what does the project manager do next? What do they do first? What is the next step? Things like that. They want you to be challenged and tested in terms of what would the project manager do, and test you on various complicated scenarios that you might be expected to answer on. So that exam prep simulator, I highly recommend it. The bang for your buck, biggest piece of investment you can do for this study strategy. And of course, the last piece is YouTube. YouTube. I highly recommend looking at Praise Young Media's YouTube videos. I personally wasn't a student of Phil there, but his videos are absolutely amazing. I highly recommend looking at some of his YouTube videos, particularly the one on the PMP mainline video. Absolutely incredible, and I would like to give a shout out to him because I think a lot of my success on the exam was because of him, so kudos to that. The second YouTube video and other YouTube media that you can look at is the PMBOK Guide 6th edition explained by Ricardo Vargas. Amazing video. He breaks down the entire PMBOK guide, and instead of understanding that each chapter are individual processes and knowledge areas and that they're all separated, instead what he does is tie them in to each other. That way you can understand that the PMBOK guide is not just this I only do scope here, oh I only do cost here, oh I only look at stakeholders here, and they're all separate. No, they're all interlinked, and he really breaks that down very efficiently and effectively. So I highly recommend look at that video, look at it multiple times if you need to before your exam. Really good material to look at. So the last piece I'll touch here is probably one of my favorite topics I always like to talk about for some of those who might know me or not, is motivation. Okay, at the end of the day, whatever you decide to do, whatever it is, whether it be exam or a certain course, maybe you have a competition in something you're doing, you need to visualize yourself being there. You need to visualize yourself being successful. in whatever it is. Visualize, 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 visualize. Do not visualize, oh, what if it goes wrong? What if I get the wrong answer? What if I fail? Don't think about that, okay? You need to be thinking about visualizing yourself getting that PMP exam done, passing it, and getting that certificate. That is what is going to drive you forward. And I recommend as well looking at certain YouTube videos that can motivate you. One of my greatest YouTube videos I always looked at is Arnold Schwarzenegger's motivation for visualization. Take a look at that. Take a look at some motivation. Understand that you need to visualize to get somewhere where you need to go, and don't care about what anybody says in terms of what you're doing. You know, had people even in my family telling me like, you're crazy, you're doing this, you're in vacation leave, you should be relaxing, you should be not be doing anything. No. Okay, if you have something you want to do, you get it done regardless of what somebody else says. So this pretty much wraps up the video that I had today in terms of passing your PMP exam. Now, the last point I'd like to touch on before I close this out is what is the expected time and cost. And I mentioned throughout the video what the expected time is. Again, I would say minimum 23 days, so 3 weeks, and a maximum of 2 months. I would say maximum. If you really want to go 60 days, you can. But remember, when I scheduled my exam, I did it 23 days out, 3 weeks. And again, I don't know if I mentioned, but my exam results were target, above target, above target, target, and above target. So I got 2 targets and 3 above targets within 23 days, of exam study. So you can do this. You can be very successful and actually get above the standard and get above targets. Cost will certainly depend on where you come from. I'm currently situated here in Canada, so my total investment to getting my PMP was around $1,000. Now, if you don't have that kind of money, look into maybe getting some funding from your respective organization if they support project management professional certification. Look into that. I know in my organization they don't support it anymore, so I decided to get this done as soon as possible and get it out of the way. So there's that. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this helps you in terms of passing your PMP exam. Leave a comment below on what you think and any questions that you may have about my experience. And yeah, feel free to contact me anytime. I'm always open to any suggestions or feedback. Okay, study hard, get it done early, and never ever give up. Even if it comes to the point where you do fail, never give up and get it done. You can do this.